What's going on, everybody? It's Brian. I've got an update video for you, but it might be kind of longer because there is a ton that has gone on with my car in the past about month and a half, which is part of the reason why there's been less videos. There's just been so much going on with my car. So buckle in. I'm just gonna start chronologically because there's a lot going on and just tell you what's been going on with the car. So the first thing that happened with my car was I was driving along a road, 2 lanes both ways, and I was in the rightmost lane, so the curb was on my right side. And it's one of these roads, it's kind of old. The curb was a high curb, and the lanes are very narrow. And I was driving, and someone in the lane to the left of me was next to me, and they started kind of drifting into my lane. And partially my fault, partially their fault, I naturally kind of jumped over a little bit to try to get out of the way. I guess in hindsight, because I kind of forgot how narrow the road was, I should have probably slammed on the brakes and, you know, get out of the way of that drift. But I just went to the right a little bit and scraped my wheels along the curb. It was kind of bad. You can see here, it was just a little scrape. It scraped up the edges a decent amount, but partially my fault, partially them drifting in my lane. It kind of sucked. I should have just hit the brakes, but I just kind of was thinking I had more room, but I didn't. Anyway, that's not a huge deal because these are eventually going to be my winter only wheels. I'm gonna get new summer wheels probably next year, I'm thinking. Get a new set of summer wheels and tires. So I don't really like these wheels anyway. I never really liked the design of them. So it's really not too big of a deal. Next is something a lot more major. I was driving to work on a Monday morning and I made a left turn, and then I got into the next road, on that new road I made a left turn on to, and it was in downtown in my city, so there's kind of people walking to work, and someone was jaywalking across the street, and I saw them in plenty of time, so I hit the brakes, didn't slam on them, and I kind of was stopped for about 2 to 3 seconds. The person was jaywalking, so let him go. The person behind me apparently didn't see me stop and just rear-ended me. It was a big old F-150, like a 2015. I mean, it was brand new. It was like very new car. It hit me, if I had to guess, I'd say going 10 to 15 miles an hour he was. And it ended up putting 2 holes in my bumper from his license plate screws. And then there was also some scratching, and the bumper was actually a little cracked, which you can't really see in photos, but it was a little bit cracked. So with that, you know, I went through all the insurance, and they were obviously found at fault. Their insurance, I'm not gonna name them, gave me a call, you know, and said, come out to our place and we'll inspect it and we'll give you the quote, or really about to fix it, etc. So I go to this body shop that they work through their insurance, and they give me a quote. And the quote was around $600, and all they were going to do was just paint over it. And I talked to them about, I have like a tri-coat pearl paint because I have the Galaxy Blue Pearl. And I talked to them about that, and they didn't really seem to know about it. So that kind of scared me. And second off, I knew there might be some damage underneath there. I mean, it was like 10 to 15 mile an hour hit. So I went there, they quoted me the 600, said they wanted to do it. I said I didn't want to do it with them. I want to do it with Subaru because I know they'll lift it up, they'll look, and they'll replace anything underneath and possibly replace the whole bumper. And I want an OEM bumper, or if they just paint it, I want to make sure it's OEM paint. I know they would probably get OEM paint or bumper from Subaru, but I just felt way more comfortable going to Subaru, especially after that quick quote of just saying they're going to paint over. So I ended up going to Subaru. They put it on the lift, and they said the rear impact bars, I believe is what they're called, were broken from the impact, and that the bumper was actually very cracked underneath on the back side of the bumper, and they definitely needed to replace the bumper and the rear impact bars. And this ended up being over double the price, like $1,300 or $1,400 was their quote. And so they called that insurance for me, and basically told them, and then the other insurance said, fine, we'll pay for that. So luckily it wasn't anything, it wasn't too much of a hassle with that insurance. It was just annoying at the first part when they gave me that really low quote. So I took a Subaru, got it all done. The nice thing was they did replace the whole bumper, which if you remember from any of my old update videos, I got hit twice in parking lots, hit and runs. Nothing very major, kind of just some scratching, but both were on my back bumper, which was awesome because they replaced the whole bumper, so it fixed those 2 hit and runs in the parking lots, the rear end, and now it just looks really nice. So that was, you know, the accident that I got in, but luckily it wasn't too major. So the third thing that happened was I got a check engine light. I was actually driving on the highway home from a client, and I stopped at the light off the highway, and my car started idling very funny. It's was going between about 500 and 1,000 RPMs, kind of fluctuating up and down, and the car would shake a little bit while that was happening as well. And after about 5 seconds of that, the check engine light came on, and the whole dashboard lit up with it. The traction control turned off, the VSC turned off, the hill assist turned off, and cruise control also turned off. It was blinking and you couldn't engage it. And so from there I went home, and I have an OBD2 Bluetooth sensor, so I plugged it in and I pulled the code, and the code I got, I believe, was P000A, and I put that into Google along with some of the forums like Naziok and I think one other forum as well. And what came up were two things. One was a bad oil control valve, which was, I guess it's kind of it's not a big thing, but a good amount of people have had it with the 15 WRXs, and they would take it to the dealer and it'd be replaced. The other thing that came up, it was less frequent, but it intrigued me a little more because I thought it might be something that was wrong with my car, was something to do with the airbox. And people were saying they would either fiddle with their OEM airbox or put in a new airbox and they would get this code. And a whole year ago, I put in new headlights, and you have to take the airbox out to put in the new headlights. So when I took the airbox out and then put it back in, there's a screw that you have to screw on that attaches the airbox essentially to the frame. Well, I broke one of these bolts because I just torqued it too hard, which was just dumb on my part. And so what I did to fix that problem was my friend gave me some Plasti Weld. It's kind of like this stuff that it feels like putty, and you rub it in your fingers, get it warm. Then you place it between, you know, wherever you need to put it to essentially weld something together, and it hardens and makes a really good bond. So I did that, and it was on there fine for a good amount of time. I guess I just found out that it broke off, but I would check it periodically, at least once every couple of weeks, once a month, and it was still on, and the airbox was fine and wouldn't move. Well, when I went under the hood, like I just said, I saw that broke off. So I figured that might be the problem, is that broke off and the airbox was moving a lot. It still had another bolt to keep it in place, but it was still moving a little bit. So what I ended up doing is I actually ended up taking some zip ties, and there's only one point really on the airbox you can tie a zip tie to, and the airbox was falling backwards towards the, I guess, the passenger compartment of the car. And I needed it to stop doing that, so I had to take the zip ties on the back and pull them all the way to the front of the frame. And so I did this, pulled to the front of the frame, and the airbox is super tight now, extremely snug, it won't move at all, and it's all sitting very well with that, you know, the vent, the way the grill vents to the airbox. So it was sitting good. Turned my car on, and I drove a couple miles, and it went off. So I don't know if that fixed it, but what I did is I still made an appointment with Subaru, and I made this appointment before I fixed the check engine light. Went into Subaru, and they said they can't really do anything because I was able to turn the light off. So they said unless it comes back on, they can't do anything, and I can come back in if it comes back on. So it's been good ever since. It's been idling fine. I don't know if that was the fix. I hope it was. If it comes back on, I'm assuming it's probably a bad oil control valve, and I'll bring it back in. So then the fourth thing that happened in my strain of bad luck over the past month or two was I was driving, and I got the low tire pressure indicator. This was about 2 weeks after I curbed my wheels. So I checked the tire pressure, and it was at 15 PSI, which is extremely low. And I guess, I don't know if that's when the sensor comes on, but I checked it right when the sensor came on. Obviously, it's very low. So I immediately went and filled it up, and topped it back up to about 33 PSI, whatever the OEM suggestion is. And I thought maybe it had to do with me curbing the wheels, but it was 2 weeks later, and I thought that was kind of too fast, or it would have happened faster if I actually did break a seal or do something wrong there. So, did that, drove it the rest of the day, no light. The next morning, turn on my car, and I get the light again. So I knew something was wrong. I go check my tire, I start feeling all over, and I was able to see, I think it was a nail, but something was stuck in my tire. Luckily, as soon as I saw it, it was stuck right in the dead center of the tread, and I was pretty happy about that because I know you can usually repair a tire if the nail or the puncture point is in the tread. And I was actually kind of pretty busy. It was on a Saturday, and I was really busy, and I just needed to get it done fast, so I called up a couple places, and Firestone could get me in right away. So I took it to them, and it was 30 bucks, and they just passed it right up, and it was fine. So luckily it was only 30 bucks, didn't have to buy a whole new tire, which would have been extremely expensive. So those were the 4 terrible things that happened over the past 2 months. Just problems with the car. The only thing I guess that was really the problem with the car was that check engine light. Everything else was just a series of bad luck with getting hit in an accident, the tire, etc. But besides those 4 things, the other update, which you saw in my last video, was I finally got my exhaust on, so I finally got it in. So this exhaust came right after all those events ended, so that was nice. It's kind of just a nice thing to get after having to deal with all of that for a couple months. And I got the new exhaust. I installed it. I made an install video. You guys can check it out. I'll leave a link in the description. Originally in that video, I said it was pretty loud, and I maybe would have got the 5-inch resonators. After about, I think it's been about 2 weeks I've had this exhaust on, and I probably will take that back. When it's cold start on this car, it is very loud. And when you're doing accelerations, like harder accelerations, it's very loud. But normal day driving, it's not that bad actually. I think it's very timid. It's just enough sound. So I definitely think this was a good choice on the 4-inch resonator. So if I had to recommend it to people, that's what I would tell them to get. But again, like I said in the last video too, that's completely a personal thing. That's completely a subjective thing. It's whatever you like. If you like really loud sound, you don't like sound at all. But the actual sound coming out of it, not the volume of the sound, but the sound coming out of it is good. It's like a low end. I really don't know how to explain it, but I like it. So that's it with everything going on with this car. It's been crazy. It's been hectic this past 2 months. That's also the reason why I haven't really gotten out many videos. There's been so much going on with it. Because a couple of videos I am going to get out soon, hopefully, is I'll do a comparison between this exhaust and the stock exhaust, because my friend still has his WRX with stock exhaust, so I'll put them side by side so it's easier to tell the quick differences. And then besides that, I've had this car for over a year now. I've had it actually for a year and almost 2 months. I got it in the middle of June of 2014, and I put in my deposit in about the middle of May of 2014. So it's definitely been over a year. I've got over 17,000 miles on the car. And I wanted an update about a year with the car, talk about the pros and the cons, like, you know, the things that you, after driving it for a whole year and driving it every day, that really bug you. So I just want to talk about those two things and put out a video for that. I'm sure people would like to see that. And my battery died in my camera in my car. But I was wrapping up the video anyway, guys. I appreciate you watching. Hopefully coming out soon. I should be able to get out the comparison exhaust, the 1 year with my car, and then hopefully a 1,000 subscriber video if I hit that at some point soon. But thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.